Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to look at looping, and there are a couple different loops we will look at. The first loop we will look at will be a while loop. So looping is repeating instructions. So what we're going to do is going to look at a while loop. This makes our code more efficient if we have instructions that have to repeat. So what we're going to do is we're going to say a while loop will repeat instructions while a condition is true. And then when the condition is no longer true, it's going to stop repeating these instructions. So let's add some code and give ourselves a variable. We're going to call it count. We're going to assign the value of 1. And while count is less than or equal to 5, colon. Now I do colon when I tab. Notice that I've moved over here. When I press return, I've tabbed over. And I'm going to print the value of count. So count is, just give myself a string for some text, and then comma, I'm going to put in my variable. Now watch what happens when I run this. So while count is less than or equal to 5, I'm going to print this out. Now let's see if I can get this right. I tried this once already and I had a big problem with it. And if I run this, it runs and runs and runs and runs. And this is where I had a problem, because it ran so much. It took me way, way, way down the screen. And then I had to restart my video. Oh, look, it's done it again. Is it running again? No. If I scroll up, um, so it's doing it again. And what I'll do, if you run into this, is called an infinite loop. If I click on this, that's going to kill my code. Okay, so that killed my code, and that got me out of it. What that was an infinite loop, and because the value of count never became false, then it kept running and running and running, and it kept printing this, and I've killed it. So what I have to do is I have to give the infinite loop a chance to terminate, and the way I can do that is if I say count is equal to, and there's a shortcut to that. If I increment it, what I need to do is I need to increment it by 1. Increment by 1. That means the first time count will be 1, then it'll be 2, then 3, then 4, then 5, and then 6. And when it gets to 6, this condition will no longer be true, and then the loop will terminate. So we run it, and it goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So what it did is count took the value of 1, that's where it started. Then we incremented it. Count is assigned the value of count plus 1. And that's what this line does here. It increments it. So then it became 2. It went back, it checked, is it true that count is less than or equal to 5? Yes, it's true. So it output the value, and then it incremented it again, and again, and again, until it got to 5, and it outputted the values 5. Then what it did is it came down to line 4, programming line 4, and it added one more to the value of count, and count became 6. So it came back up here to 2, to this line, and it said, is count equal? It asked the question, is count equal less than or equal to 5? And then this became false. And when it became false, it stopped running. Or it actually would have come down to another instruction if there's another instruction after. So for instance, if we come over here and tab over and we do print loop is finished, then it will output this. Another way of writing this, perhaps to make it easier to understand, it's another way of writing this is say count is assigned the value of count plus 1. So it's current value plus 1. That's another way of writing this. It's the same thing. And then when the loop terminates, it does that. So loop is finished. So once the value got to 6, the loop finished. That's a while loop. And we can put condition in here. It could be a complex condition or a simple condition. Complex means it could have ands and ors in it. Let's have a quick look. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to add some text, and I'm going to do I'm going to add some text. Let me scroll up, and I'm going to say I'm going to calculate total and average. Okay, I just like to bold this. It's not necessary, and then I'm going to add some code. So yeah, let's use a while loop to calculate total and average. So I'm going to set count to 1, and I'm going to have a variable called total, and it's going to equal 0, and I'm going to have a variable called average, and it's going to equal 0. And then while count is less than or equal to 4, now I'm going to loop. I'm going to say total is assigned the value of total plus count. And then count is assigned the value of count plus 1. I'm going to increment that by 1. Total is assigned the value of total plus count. And count is assigned the value of count plus 1. So I'm going to increment count each time. And once I'm done with my loop, I'm going to do the average is assign the value of total divided by count. That's how we calculate an average. And then I want to print count so we can see what we've done. And let's just print also the total. And I put the variable total in here. And we'll do average. And I'll put the variable for average in here so we can see all of our values at the end. And that's it. And let's run this and see what's happening. So I need to scroll up. So if we run this, we see count is 5, total is 10, and the average is 2. So we started it where count was 1. We set total and average to 0. And while count is less than or equal to 4. So we repeat the indented instructions. In fact, I can just come down here a bit to make it clearer. We repeat the indented instructions. And so the first time, total equals total plus count. So what is total? Total is 0, and count is 1. So total plus count, 0 plus 1 is 1, and then we assign it to the value total. So total becomes 1. Then count is assigned the value of count plus 1. So if count is 1, count plus 1 is 2, and we assign it to this. So now the value of count becomes 2. So then we loop around and we add this. The best way to demonstrate this is with something called a trace table. Here are our 3 variables. We start off count equals 1, total equals 0, and average equals 0. We come over here, we ask this question. It's true that count is less than or equal to 4. So total takes the value of total plus count. Well, 0 plus 1 equals 1. So we place 1 in here, and then we come back around to the loop and we ask this question again. Is count less than or equal to 0? Yes, it is. First of all, we had to add 1 to count. Let's add 1 to count. I didn't do that line number 6 there. So count equals count plus 1. Count started off as 1. 1 plus 1 equals 2. Okay, so we come back here. We ask the question, is count less than or equal to? Yes, it's true. So we come down here, and total equals total plus count. So total is 1. Count is 2. So this value becomes 3. We come down to line 6, and count takes a value of count plus 1. So it's incremented by 1, so it becomes 3. We come back up to line 4. We ask, is it less than or equal to 4? Yes, it is. It's true. So we come back in here, and we do this again, and we get total is assigned the value of total plus count. Well, total is currently 3, and count is currently 3. So total takes a new value of 6 in line 5, and now we come back here and we increment count once more, and it becomes 4. We come back up here. Is it less than or equal to 4? Well, it's not less than 4, but it is equal to 4. So this statement remains true. So we come over here and we add, we come to line 5 again, and total equals total plus count, so 6 plus 4 equals 10, and we enter 10 into here, and we increment this to 5, and now we come back up to line 4 in our loop. Count is count less than or equals 4. Well, now it's false. So once this condition is false, we come down to line 7 over here, line 8, then we go to line 9, and average equals is assigned the value of total divided by count. Well, total divided by count, 10 divided by 5 is 2, so we put that into average, and then we output all of our data here. And that's what's happened in this code.